position.
Can you see my Cardinal shirt?
I didn't even realize that was a Cardinal shirt earlier. I saw that.
You know, I didn't either. And Laurel got it for me when she was in St. Louis. But yeah, it's 11-time world champions.
Yeah.
St. Louis baseball.
That is a cool one, actually.
Yeah, it's an oversized one. It's nice. I like it quite a bit. Yeah. Shout out Laurel.
Who?
I have no idea. Somebody sent it to me, a fan, I think.
This is a customer?
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, welcome to what? We haven't. Kevin hasn't pulled his phone out to post a story yet.
Oh yeah, you can.
We'll talk amongst ourselves. Where are you going? And we lost him. All right, it's just us.
It's been nice having Trace.
Yeah.
We didn't quite get to the introduction, but
Trace, what's your middle name?
Roger.
No, that's his first name.
Oh, Trace is his middle name.
Doofus. No.
Yeah, Roger Trace Thews the third.
God.
Roger Maris Thews.
Lee.
Roger Lee?
Yeah.
Is it really?
It is.
There you go. You know? Man. Good thing I wasn't like the best man in your wedding or anything. Hey, what a fun thing. Yeah. I was the best man in both of your weddings. And I made it to one of those weddings.
Please elaborate.
Yeah. Well, I made it to Trace's.
You sound like an all right man.
He was a better best man for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was the better one. I was the best man in both of your weddings. So that's fun.
You were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Suckers.
You guys want to squeeze in there? You want to squeeze in there, Trace?
Come on in, Trace. Oh, there he is. But we have Roger Lee Thews the third, also known as Trace. Trace is a longtime friend, obviously. Worked at TRIAD for many years, so most of the people who are enjoying the podcast will obviously recognize his handsome face. He is now a professional fighter of fires.
Yeah. Please add that.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a pro fighter. It's pretty cool. He'll fight anything. A fire, a car crash, whatever you need, he'll fight it. Trace, tell us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, no, that covered most of it, actually.
All right. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah. No, I worked with TRIAD. I worked at TRIAD for, almost 6 years.
Long time.
I met Kevin, Vince, those guys.
Oh, we don't mention them.
I met Kevin probably a few months before TRIAD was even a thing.
Yeah.
You guys were just a tent at Anarchy.
Yeah. Funny as those guys.
Yeah. And so I met them. They seemed somehow like decent guys.
Yeah.
Checked out the store when it finally opened that October, I want to say.
Yeah, that we were at that Anarchy before we were even open.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just somehow ended up getting a spot there because Vincent was working out.
Vince was working out there.
Yeah.
I came in probably that first or second week. Looking back, I think I was one of the first 20 customers.
Yeah, for sure.
And so like I said, I've known Kevin for coming up on a decade now.
Getting close, man.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to think about. Back when Sample Triad, after was at our house and we were eating pizza
and there was still room.
There was most of Trace's Sample Triad after parties, I think. So
yeah.
How I think that's an interesting contrast though to go, to kind of toot our own horn here, but to go from Sample Triad being something that the after party was held literally at our house that 3 of the 4 TRIAD employees lived at, and to now sitting in a warehouse with a whole ping pong table and everything to just I think it's funny, and I'm curious your input on it and your take on it, because to see that to kind of where we are now obviously has been some pretty cool strides for us.
So that was when I was in the store, that was something I tried to get across to the newer customers as often as I could, because I don't know how many times I had that conversation with them, whereas, we'd have a $3,000-$4,000 day and they're just oh God, it was so slow. I was so bored today.
You mean newer employees?
Yes. Yeah. The newer employees at any of the stores, I guess either of the stores at that time, but they're like, yeah, we had $3,000 in sales and it was so slow. I was like, guys, like I remember when we had 3 customers in a day.
Yeah.
Like
we hit $500 and we were like, yes.
Yeah. Another hump.
Our first $1,000 sales day outside of Sample Triad. I was like, fuck, we were so busy.
Yeah. Like, how do we handle this?
That was our very first Sample Triad. We did. Vincent used to be our bookkeeper, and he ran numbers on how much do we need to make a day to be able to pay our bills and stay open. And it was it was a little over $1,000 a day. It was probably $1,200 a day. And the first time we did that was a Sample Triad where it was like months of planning, advertising, and like this full day where everybody was on staff plus like a bunch of volunteers, and we like barely hit that. And we're like, all right, now we just need to do that every day, every single day.
Well, and it's really funny because like, and I wasn't involved for all of that, but it's like, I still remember way back when, but to be feeling that and it almost feel like we were obviously hopeful and knew that it could happen, but there was a sense of like, is that attainable? Is that possible?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's like, you know what I mean? Like those kind of like, it's crazy the difference in like perspective, you know what I mean? Where you go from like looking up to something, like, man, were we ever going to get to that point? Like, when is that point going to happen? And again, to kind of be sitting here, obviously I'm really excited. And I think everybody on staff and who's been on staff is super excited to now be like sitting in a warehouse where it's like, there's cool stuff and
right behind us,
fun.
Right behind a store that never saw a period of time that was as slow as what we needed to do at the first store.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, so like, I mean, I think that was a huge thing, like for me to be able to give that perspective to the newer employees of like, I don't know, it's just, right now it seems like you guys are, as you should be concerned with what's the next thing we're doing, like what's the next big thing.
Right.
Whereas, for a month or two, it was just Kevin and I.
Yeah.
No, that is.
We covered every single hour, and it was like, all right, like, what do we need to do to be open next week?
Right. I was talking to AJ about this the other day because we were talking about like, what were you guys thinking it was going to look like? And I was like, I think at that point we were all just like, we're hungry. Has any of the bars expired?
Yeah.
Like, the Cliff Bar's expired. Grab the box. Yeah. We're going to eat it.
Yeah.
Oh, they sent a level 1 sample.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There was definitely a lot of time where it was, one day we'll do some cool stuff, but right now, like, let's just not file for bankruptcy. That'd be neat.
Yeah.
Not be homeless. Yeah.
Like, work second jobs or
yeah if we could not have a week where we don't work 80 hours a week or more,
or telling
this is my only job.
Or like telling Trace like, hey, we feel real good that we're going to be able to pay you. Like,
we haven't been able to pay anybody yet.
but we get a pretty good shot.
Yeah, I think that was kind of an interesting conversation when we brought you in, and it's kind of set the standard for hiring employees moving forward. It was you and Eric Titlow were the first 2 people we brought on, and we knew we needed a couple of people because Chad and Vincent were on their way out and they were going off to do other things. I still love those guys, but we needed employees because we're open 78 hours a week, and it's possible for me to work that, but then I can't even get out and do
anything else.
I can't even get out and sample and do the things that are required to keep the ball rolling. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, it's kind of all or none. So we got to get going. So it was definitely a conversation of like, hey, we kind of have a platform. We've got some things that we want to implement and some tweaks that we want to make. And we're just kind of waiting for Chad and Vincent to kind of work their way out so that they're not really on the hook for that. If I am implementing these. So it was kind of like, we're going to do all these things and we're either going to make it or break it right now. I don't want to sit around and have another year where we just we just coast along and don't see any growth and no one's able to really take anything home from it. So.
Right, just death by 1,000 cuts at that point. It's
exactly,
we can slowly bleed out.
Right.
Yeah.
Episode 18, right?
Sounds right.
Sure.
Ryan, you're the expert.
That's so many episodes.
This is your show.
Nobody sounds else. Right.
Yeah.
Nobody else will know. I'll just do 18.
Yeah.
I'll call AJ real quick.
Yeah. Someone will know.
He knows.
Someone's going to comment, what happened to 17?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Skipped it.
Yeah. Just didn't make the cut.
It's not a good number.
Yeah.
Yep.
But no, like I mean, I don't know. It's just it was very, very cool, at least from my perspective, to be able to be part of Triad, and I mean even Define at a certain point.
Sure.
In those formative years.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was just something that I'm always going to be able to look back, and I mean, I'm pumped, like from my point of view, to in 5-10 years to look back, like, oh, those 15 stores.
Yeah.
I remember when it was just Kevin and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is still one of the craziest things to think about. And I sometimes I post about it or like working into a caption, but there was literally a time where it was only you and me working the store.
Just you two and a couch.
And a couch and a Stanley, I think at that time.
Yeah, Stanley was actually on staff.
Yeah. He was pulling his weight for
Thank
sure.
goodness. Okay. Yeah, I know you're probably halfway joking about that, but like seriously, like we definitely hit a period of time where we started kind of like getting busier, and we weren't able to, and we were working on hiring on, but it takes so long to train and get these people actually working in the store and taking customers. People would come in. They were a lot more patient when Stanley was around.
Yeah, he was the actual greeter.
Yeah.
Like he was like, he kind of like, okay, here you come. I can't give you water bottles because I don't have thumbs. But he was like, hey, how's it going? And then it's like, Kevin will be with you in just a second. But honestly, though, I mean, that's not far off from what it was like.
Yeah.
That was kind of crazy because we kind of eased him in because we weren't really sure how people would respond.
Tracer
to
Stanley.
Stanley.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
He had to go through his training, pass his tests. So,
Yeah, makes sense.
but it was, you don't really know how people are going to respond to a dog being around. Legitimately, probably 499 people out of 500 absolutely loved Stanley being in the store. It was great. I expected maybe like 9 out of 10 people or something like that. It was everybody. And he's like a more mild-mannered dog.
Yeah,
so
he's the perfect dog for
He
something
works
like
well
that.
in that situation.
Yeah,
But
he is the perfect dog for it.
Yeah.
So now life has kind of changed. Obviously, you've recently gone through the firefighting academy.
Joined the Oklahoma City Fire Department.
How's that going? Tell us about it.
It's going well.
Tell us all the secrets.
I'm at a real fun station down the south side, down in Stockyard City.
Nice.
Dude, just get to see a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, elaborate. Let me hear some of these interesting things we get to see.
You get to see. I don't know. It's always a weird thing to see people on their very worst day.
Oh, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and so it's just something that like I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted just help people. I mean, that's what got me into just coaching and teaching and I mean
working at the store.
Help people just give a shit about their lives.
Right.
And so now it's been very, very cool to see, like I said, just see people on the absolute worst day of their life.
It's kind of a that turned up to 11 kind of deal.
100%. And so it's very, very cool to see, for me to see like the older guys on the job who, we're just hanging around watching the hunting channel and we get a dispatch to all right, well, it's a full cardiac arrest. Like this person is dead. And they're just like, all right, cool. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
And we get there as quickly as we can. And it just business as usual.
Yeah. That's such a crazy thing. Obviously, so much more intense to kind of be dealing with that. I've actually been I've been going down around the stockyards and calling the fire department and telling them that I've been stuck in a tree and I've yet to see you. So I just keep waiting.
That's a help. I think they said a PD for that one.
My nephew's in a tree. He needs help.
With where you're at down there, do you stick mostly just south of the river, or do you ever go north into the downtown area? Or?
So our main district is just south of the river. But then the way our first in districts work, so it's like Station 10 is just north of us, and whenever they're on a call, if we get a call, we'll go north of the river.
That makes sense.
And so there are a bunch of it. Just being that part of town, there are a lot of night shelters, a lot more of the Section 8 housing, stuff like that. So like I said, it's just, I have no idea what to expect when I go to work every day, which is, it's a fun adventure right now.
Yeah. That's crazy. I can't imagine.
What is the most interesting story you can share with us that you have so far?
Tell me. I mean, all right, so there
about
was
firefighting.
probably, okay. Let me backtrack. No, so it was probably like my third or fourth shift, and it was like I was talking to our driver, so like the guy who drives the actual rig.
Checks out.
Hence the title, right? And I was like, hey, so I'm still obviously very new. I've never actually run a cardiac arrest like in any of my like EMSA clinicals, nothing like that. I've never run a full arrest, anything like that. So could we just kind of walk through it? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like, that's cool. We got all the medical bags out of the rig, tore them apart, like set up like a full simulation in the station. Not 2 hours later, we run one.
Oh, wow.
Get that person back. I'd transport like in the ambulance with a patient.
Yeah.
Get to at Saints probably, I think. Yeah. And then get back to the station, like finish putting everything back up. Another full arrest.
Wow.
Like two just back to back, like within 30 minutes of each other.
Jeez.
And so the entire rest of the shift, they're like, Trace, like, you're not allowed to ask any questions.
We're not training you on anything else.
If you have a question, just figure it out on your own. Sorry.
We'll figure it out when we get there.
Next time you have an opportunity to ask a question, just be like, how do you get a 31-year-old out of a tree that's stuck?
I'll let you know.
Come see me finally.
I'll let you know next time I work.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, so then, like I said, even the next couple of shifts, they're like, all right, Trace, like, what kind of calls do you want to run today? We'll do some training on that this morning.
Hey, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure you were glad you were able to do that training right before.
Yeah.
I was very thankful. And I was like, hey guys, like, Brightside, we just reviewed it. They're like, no, like, fuck you. We've run 1,000 of these. It's not fun for us.
Yeah. So,
I had a blast.
Yeah. I felt like it went well. All things considered.
Yeah. And then so another cool thing is, so at Station 8 where I'm at, it's like the main dive, like water rescue station in the city.
Oh, that's cool.
So like just, having to learn like the regular fire engine, like our brush pumper, like those rigs, but then having to learn all like the boat stuff, all the water rescue stuff. And then the last couple months, they've been doing a bunch of their swim and like dive research stuff,
nice.
Recertification stuff. And so they've been real cool about like whenever we get there, like, hey, like Trace, like if you want to try it out, like we'll get you in the scuba gear, let you go diving, like try all that stuff out. So it's been at least a really fun thing that a bunch of my classmates have not been able to do.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's definitely an aspect that's like you don't necessarily expect when you get into this. I think
For
that's
sure.
kind of a lot of people before they really dive into what a firefighter actually does, because for a small amount of time, it was something I thought that I was kind of interested in doing. But you don't realize what that job actually entails, because it's a whole lot different than, how it's portrayed. I feel like on certain things, I thought you'd be fighting more fires.
We've run one house fire.
Yeah.
And there have been just a lot of like burn complaints or like homeless camp fires. And then obviously, so actually, this past week, there are all those big grass fires.
I was going to ask if you were involved with that at all.
So I was not. So
What a loser.
because they are so far north, it was like every other station was like involved with like fighting them.
Yeah.
Like I think at one point, so there are 39 engines throughout the city, like at all 38 stations. There were 35 or 36 out on calls at one time.
Jeez.
And so like, it was just like that busy in the city.
That's crazy.
So we were like, my engine, we were not involved with the fires, but because so many other stations were,
Yeah, you're out just
we picked
Picking
up
up the slack of
every
else.
other medical call that day. And
in
so,
the city.
yes.
Woohoo.
And so like, but it got to the point where, I mean, we were up, like deep into downtown, like even into like midtown places like that.
Jeez, yeah.
Station 1, who's they're off like, almost south, like just north of the river. They were making calls up on Memorial.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so like we were all just stretched out real thin, but I mean, makes for fun days.
Yeah. Well, Laurel's brother-in-law, he's a firefighter in Del City, and he was
nice.
talking about how just during these fires, just because it was so big and so vast that it was like there were like houses that were caught on fire, and like
Sorry,
they're like
gotcha.
trying to put it out with like water hoses, because it's like, what do you do? There's not enough,
Dude,
like,
the wind that day was nuts.
the
man.
wind that day was wild.
Yeah.
We were getting like 60+ mile an hour gusts. here in Yukon.
Did that stop at the highway? Did the highway like kind of like stop that, or did it jump over? Because I had to kind of imagine
The
that
fire or the wind?
the fire. Also the wind. Answer both of those, please.
I think the wind probably made it. I don't know about the fire though.
Yes and yes.
The fire made it over.
Yes and yes.
Holy cow!
Yeah, that's a lot of wind.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I said, there's hundreds of acres gone.
Right.
And then
so sad.
like I said, just a handful of homes too that
Jeez.
unfortunately it was just like sorry, like we just don't have the resources anymore.
Yeah, that's too bad. And I mean, like, understandably, like,
Yeah.
you can't prepare for stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
Oof.
But no, I'm like, so our wildland truck, our brush pumper, I think they were on that call for 16, 17 hours.
Oof.
Like they were up there all day, and then they like picked up a couple of staff members from other stations to put in the truck. They put them in a van, brought them back to Station 8 so they could sleep for like 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
Picked them up a little after midnight and brought them home at shift change.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something about long days. I mean, do you feel like your adrenaline gets going and you just kind of like everybody's kind of in it together?
So-
like, is it just kind of get like all right, how much can we do today? Kind of.
So with the station I'm at, like, I mean, it goes all over the place. So like, I think that was Friday. It was the really bad storm days or the wind days. We ran, 12 or so calls. Like we were just busy, like flying all over the place.
No.
Last shift, we ran 2 calls that like we both got, canceled on the way there. And so
It's a little contrast for you.
the Friday shift, it was like at a certain point, we were just so busy. Like we'd finish up a call, be driving back to the station and get dispatched to another one.
Mm-hmm.
And so like we just had no time to relax, like come back down or anything like that. It was just cool. Like this is our shift now. Like this is what we're doing.
No.
The 2 calls we had yesterday though, it was like I had been doing nothing for 8 hours and now I'm like, oh cool, house fire. Like we gotta go.
Yeah.
And so like those are the days where I really notice it's like I go from 0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
But like once we just on those days where we have, 10 plus calls, it's just we're just going to work, whatever.
Yeah.
Would you rather have a day where you have just back-to-back calls, or would you rather have on the polar opposite end? Would you rather have a day where it's just almost no calls?
So at least where I'm at right now, at like where I'm at in my career, like being a recruit still, I would much rather be busy.
Yeah. Some of the older guys want a little more downtime. Do you think?
Yeah.
They've done it all, so yeah.
I think so.
Just time to relax.
Yeah, because we had a couple guys at the station on Friday who were like, we were just sitting in the station, like watching the news, like watching these fires, and we're just like, and we're just sitting here.
Yeah.
There are 30 other engines out there, and we're just cool. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neat.
Got to be ready for anything else that's
Yeah,
going
right.
to
Yeah.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I think right now I would prefer just to be busy.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still just so excited to be like, oh, like
Yeah.
let's
getting
go
reps
do
in
some
and-
shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I'm still so new. I think I know there's gonna be come a time
Mhm.
in the future where I'm like, let's go to one of those slower stations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy my time.
What is the downtime like? What do you do with your downtime?
So right now, like I said, it's because I'm still so new. I've taken thousands of laps around our fire engine, just learning like what tools are on it, like what compartments they're in. It's gotten to the point where it's like in our toolbox, what tools and like how many of everything do we have?
Jeez.
I've been doing my best to learn like just the different like pressures we flow water and like all the fire hoses and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's an interesting concept I didn't think about.
Yeah,
So-
like depending on the nozzle, depending on the diameter of the hose, you have to pump it at a like entirely different pressures. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Why don't you get one of those in here? Let's check it out.
Well,
You brought one, right?
let's go. Let's call 911.
So what you're saying is you're not just sitting around baking cookies watching Mrs. Maisel, huh?
Ooh, how many times have you had chili?
Probably once a tour. So all right. So I'm sorry. So a tour is a 3-shift like window.
So once every 3 days?
Yeah.
I'm quitting. I'm gonna be a firefighter.
That is a good amount of chili.
That's a good amount of chili.
Those are the perks they don't tell you about.
Tell you what, my
you
goodness.
hear about it, but we just think we don't know if it's rumors.
Yeah.
Ooh, how much chili though?
You hear whispers.
Yeah.
But no, so it's just it's a lot of like just walking around, learning the station, trying to learn as much about like the district I'm in, and so like I said, just with being kind of on the south side, it's a lot smaller houses, a lot of older structures, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Versus places further north where there are a lot larger homes or commercial areas like this.
Well, and I feel like part of it, and just as my experience of at least talking to other firefighters, like a big part of why firefighting is less of the gig is just like advancements in technology and fireproofing. Like we have much less burnable buildings than we used to. You know what I mean?
So a lot of the structures are, but then what's really crazy is the stuff that we put into it, because so much of like our furnitures in our home, stuff like that, have like plastic properties to it. They burn so much hotter, so much quicker, and let off way more toxins.
Yeah.
And so like now that I've been on this job, I get a lot of sponsored ads for all this stuff, but it's like 50 years ago, the average time for a house to be like fully involved, 100% in flames, is 15 or like 17 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
In the last like 10 years, that time's come down to like 3 to 5 minutes.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Have you ever seen the videos of like artificial or even like dried out real Christmas trees catching on fire?
Oh,
yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a
exactly.
freaking fireball like that.
Yeah. And so it's just like that's something that we have to we're really fighting against, just how much plastic is used in everything.
Yeah.
And so yes, like everything burns so much quicker, but how much hotter it burns, but then all of the toxins, like those gases that it puts off.
O2 tanks.
Yeah. Dude. So it was just, I mean, especially through the academy, it was just a ton of school stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Like multiple textbooks, and it was cool learning it, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
What's harder? Passing the TRIAD test or passing your test to be a firefighter?
firefighting.
Oh, dang it. You can tell me off camera.
It's closer than I would have liked to admit it.
Yeah. I think that's more of a kudos to us, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is, yeah. Dude, taking customers, I was prepared.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Hard work
see
goes
any
in.
supplements when you go around to people's houses? Maybe in their fridge or something?
No,
Make
not,
any?
not down
yet.
there. No.
Not yet. Okay, well, fingers crossed.
I haven't gone through many fridges.
No, well, all right.
Next time you're in the house, make sure you check it
on
out.
top of the
check it
fridge.
out.
Check the cabinets.
Yeah.
Make some recommendations if you need to.
Yeah. You need to be. You want to talk about being fully involved?
Have you guys heard of Define Nutrition? It's actually pretty local.
Notice this protein powder in your cabinet here is not cold temperature processed.
Trace, give him compressions.
Actually, so the class before my class, they just hit their 1 year mark. So like they all got their final assignments. And so there's a new kid, or I say kid, he's probably our age. But he just started Station 8, on a different shift. But so like we cross paths 10 times a month. First time I saw him, first time I met him, he comes in a TRIAD shirt and sets a 5-pound tub of Define Whey on the counter to work on throughout the shift. I was like, oh, which one do you work at or shop at?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, mostly like the Norman one. And I was like, oh, like what, like blah, 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 whatever. I used to work down there. He's like, oh, that's why you're asking. Okay, I thought you were just being weird. First of all, I was just trying to make a conversation, but you're right. That one's on me.
Is his name Nick?
It is not.
Dang.
No.
I had a real good feeling on who that was going to be, but
No.
well, all right, fine.
That is wild these days.
But yeah.
Most times I see someone in a TRIAD shirt, I don't know them. It used to be a rare occasion, and then it kind of turned into like sometimes
50-50.
and almost every time I see someone in a TRIAD shirt, I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Well, it's like dude, same thing. Like whenever I started, we'd, Sadie and I would be walking around Target and we'd see a TRIAD shirt, and I'd stop and talk to them for 10 minutes.
Right.
And now we walk past one, say, like, oh, like, do you know them? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen that person in my life.
Right. That is a tough thing, though. Well, it's really funny because I typically don't. Like, I don't, like if they acknowledge me or whatever, like, yeah, that's cool. And there's obviously a sense of pride.
Yeah.
Laurel, on the other hand, as we walk by whoever these people are, she goes, Triad. And I'm like, what do I follow that up with, babe? Like, what do I do?
Thank you for being normal.
Yeah. like she Triad in someone's face. What are they gonna do? Like, are they gonna be like, what's wrong with you? I'm gonna be like, I'm so sorry. Like,
She's been drinking. I just
yeah. So
We should start doing that more ourselves. We should start requiring that of all employees.
just real aggressive.
Yes.
it's the shred it truck all over again. Yeah. Just start screaming at people.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
The best part of that video is the end where he's just like, oh, man. And then the guy comes out of his truck. He's like, hey, man, what are you doing? Oh, man, I'm sorry, dude.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to get that reference.
I hope so.
I feel like everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people get excited when they see shredded trucks these days. Alyssa gets really excited.
Where you at with this, Ryan?
I think some of the newer people on staff would have no clue what we would be referencing.
It happens so quick, man. It happens so fast.
You
I
think
bet, like,
you think
everyone-
you're young and hip, and
Dude.
then you yell shred it, and everyone's like, what are you saying?
What are you
I would
talking?
put everybody like post Yazil doesn't know.
No.
I feel like that was popular just like a year or two ago.
Dude, but this is the thing. Like, and I always bring this up, and I will happily roast them on this podcast about it. It was not that it was a while ago, but it was probably what 7, 8 years, probably 8 years ago. First Form posted a video of them going, "What's up?" And then it was like Andy, and he was like, "What's up?" And there was another like, "What's up?" And I was like, bro, that came out in like 99 and you're posting this video in like 2015, 2014, 2015. I was like, ooh,
Guys, you're coming up on 2 decades late.
yeah, like, and like this is very, I'm sure for you guys, because they're a little older than us, they got like 10 years on us, where it's like that was a huge, like for a good amount of time in their formative years, was that like a big deal. But it was like, there are so many people who will not know what this is.
Learning experience for us for a minute. We're probably going to suggest something like that, like the shredded truck redo. And
1000%.
all the young people on staff are going to probably be like, please don't do that.
Yeah.
And we need to listen.
We have had some ideas pop up from time to time, and I'll be like, I don't know. That seems like we might be. And I'll go like, Hasiel. And then I'll do it. And he'll be like, you know what that is? And he'll be like, bro, I don't have any idea what that is. And I'll be like, okay, we got to move on then.
Yeah. Just find the youngest, find the person that's 20 years old and ask them if they know what it is.
Ryan's got
Since
the
this
data.
got brought up, I asked Ethan this question today, and I'm going to ask you all to see if I get a better reaction. And this is part of his Q&A video, so like,
Sneak peek.
The song was performed by Baha Men, if you're talking about who let the dogs out.
says, who can you find hanging out of the passenger side of his best friend's ride?
Hanging at the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. Scrub is another can't get no. Right?
Yes.
It's a scrub.
Yes.
No scrubs.
No scrubs.
And he repeated the question, asked me to repeat it, and had no clue. He's like, I have no clue. I don't know what you're referencing or anything.
That hurts my heart.
And I was like,
Hasiel was in kindergarten when we were graduating high school.
Oh, that
I
hurts
think
me
I was
a lot.
a senior in high school when he was in kindergarten.
Let's rewind for a second. I just want to let you know that I would also have to sing the entire song to know the answer.
I got there. I was like, it's a performance, you know?
Yeah.
Here. I've got a microphone in my face. I might as well sing it.
we just got
we have
copyrighted.
2 hours.
Yeah, oh, dang it. This one's getting pulled.
Whoops.
Oops, daisies. But yeah, it was like, but no, you're right though. Like it's so tough when it comes to marketing or whatever, where it's like you have to like be with what's current, and even something that's just like a little bit older. It's like people are just, it's going to go over so many people's head, and it's going to be weird, and they're not like.
It just happened. Like you said, it's happened so quickly that it's like, in my mind, that happened like a couple years ago, and it's still like kind of relevant. Like, at
Yeah.
least
But
a
like
little.
at a certain point though, like how many customers you guys have that are our age or older who
true.
would hear that and be like, oh shit, like I fucking remember that.
I feel like you have to wait a certain period of time before it's a throwback. Like,
Nothing from 2020 or 2019.
Yeah, like how many of our new customers got the Family Matters like opening like intro that we did? But it's throwback for sure. But it's like,
yeah, that's far enough back.
But it's like, ooh. But it was also like a trend that was happening like more currently. I think.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I've seen a couple of those. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's like
just us. You've just seen a couple of ours.
I'm in it, so I've watched it a lot.
So you saw the 3 takes it took.
Yeah.
You dropped those products several times.
I only dropped those products once. I think one take Tommy strikes again.
Damn. All right.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at messing up.
I tell you what, I was like, you just gotta. It honestly wasn't even supposed to be part of it. Ryan just turns the camera on, and I just tripped.
Thomas, get up! You're restocking.
Thomas, get up here quick! Whoa! Wow.
Trace, how often do they ask you to be in social media videos at the station?
Oddly enough, has not happened yet.
Dang. Yeah. Well, keep your hopes up.
Do you miss it, or are you happy to not be a part of it anymore?
How do you want me to answer this?
Honestly, it'll hurt Ryan's feelings, but we'll be okay.
I'm happy about it, Ryan.
I know.
He already knows the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but yeah, no, it's so fast how quick something will change and become not relevant, and then it's to anybody who, you know, wasn't paying attention or whatever, wasn't around even, because again, Hussey in kindergarten,
he had to have his parents' passcode to get online and see that video.
Yeah. That was like 4 or 5 YouTube logos ago too.
Oh man, you're not wrong. Oh.
Wait, they changed it?
That was like the old like dial-up TV. Like it had the knobs on it.
Oh yeah. Golly.
The OG YouTube.
Yeah, no, this is going to hurt because I know you guys are like in the same spot here. Well, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but I don't think I was a freshman, but the first iPhone came out when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The iPhone 1.
iPhone, I think it was just iPhone then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I was in middle school.
Okay, very cool.
I think I might
came
have
out
been a
in high school.
freshman, so you might have been in middle school. Because
Yeah.
what year did you graduate?
2010.
2010. Yeah, I was 09.
11.
Yeah.
Interesting. None of us graduated at
Ryan?
the same time.
2015.
What
Here's
age
how
child?
quick that goes.
Here's the dumb
He's
thing.
an old one.
He's an old one at the group now.
He's
like
an old
people
hat.
refer to like Ryan and Anthony as like part of the old people. And I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck these old guys.
Yeah, Grandpa Ryan. Grumpy old Grandpa Ryan.
Ryan had always been grumpy though.
Yeah.
That kind of took your position.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone had to.
That's true.
There was a big hole in Will's heart when you left.
Yeah.
He literally just messaged me before we started this.
He doesn't even know that you're on, so
I
he's
know.
going to be super. So everybody say hi to Will. He's definitely
will.
watching.
Do we
Yes,
want
Will.
to use this opportunity to make fun of him? We make fun of Will every episode.
Ooh, yeah. This one, I'm going to tell an actual story because I think this is hilarious. So Will got changed. And he's going, oh man, Thomas, don't tell that story. But I'm gonna, Will. Will went to go get change. Will is hilarious at getting change because for whatever reason, he hasn't quite figured it out. And so he gets a lot of things that we don't necessarily need and not a lot of things that sometimes that we need. Like one time he asked for like 4 ones. There's 4 of them. Like we just need 4 ones. I was like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is so funny. He got, and I love his excuse afterwards, or his reasoning, I should say. He got for one single cash drawer. Typically, with our rolls of change, we have 2 to 3 rolls, and then like some loose coins and actual like front thing. Will got 10 rolls of pennies and at no point thought to go back to the bank. Just came, put it in the drawer, and then this is the fatal mistake where I've roasted him every night that I close thereafter for a while, was he was like, well, 10 rolls don't fit. So he cracked open 2 penny rolls that has 50 cents in each of them and put it in the front container. So I closed like the next 4 straight nights and was counting, like, I would send him how many pennies I had to count at the end of the night. It'd be like 97 pennies tonight, Will. 97 pennies. Oh man, Thomas!
Well, I think I want to text him now.
But I after a few days, I was like, I don't care what the deposit is, like however much the change is, you are sending it in pennies. Like, I'm sorry, the bank's just gonna have to deal with it.
Yep.
Because I am not going to. There's no way. I'm not counting 90 plus pennies every night for the next like foreseeable future.
And there's our make fun of Will moment
There
of
you
the
go.
episode. You guys need another beer.
I do. Make Fun of Will episode brought to you by Coors Banquet.
So like the first part of that story, you were saying getting changed. I thought you were meaning like changed clothes and how he was struggling with that. And I'm like, this checks out.
Yeah.
Curious where this is going, but
Funny enough, maybe this is revealing too much. I have a video of Will struggling to change clothes before his shift because he decided when putting his pants on that he wasn't going to take his shoes off. So it's like him trying to pull his pants over his shoes. And instead of doing this in the back or in the bathroom, he's just hiding behind the drink fridge. Oh, man, Thomas, why are you telling on me?
You want one?
Yeah.
I got you one. Trace, you want?
Yeah,
Seltzer
I
or
do.
Coors?
Let's go with the Michelob Ultra.
Seltzer or just a regular?
have y'all mentioned what you're drinking yet?
Oh, we haven't. So we are drinking some Michelob Ultra organic seltzers. Very nice. Trace brought some Coors Banquet because that's his go-to.
Yeah.
Always has been. Yeah. So
Will said you guys still need 17 more rolls.
Bro, that is only $5 in pennies, though.
That brings up a good point because his excuse to hear what he said afterwards, I was like, Will, why in the world did you get? First off, Anthony was here and Anthony brought it up and Will was like, no, why'd you tell him? Like, he's gonna get mad at me. And then I was like, Will, why did you get 10 rolls? And he goes, well, I thought they were $1 each. And I was like, well, why would we need 5 rolls? Like we weren't out of pennies.
We still had $8 of pennies.
There was a funny moment. I think this was last week. It was me and Will working, and it was getting later in the day. It was probably around 6 or 7 at night. And Anthony texted him, and he was just like, "Hey, you're closing UConn, right? I'm headed out there." He's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And he started panic cleaning. Anthony was coming out. He's like folding shirts, and he's just like, and he made a joke about it. He's like, "Bro, when you panic clean because your old manager's coming," and then he had this realization of like, "Wait, you own the company. Why am I panic cleaning for Anthony right now?"
And you were like, what?
That's exactly it. And I'm like,
You took your headphones out. And
it was a proud moment. I was like, Anthony's clearly running a tight ship, and I'm proud.
That's right. Yeah.
I am very, very excited that, or not, actually, I'm the opposite of excited. But I texted Will about pennies, and he said, yes, bro.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes, bro, 17 more rolls.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
Yeah. So there you go. There's my Will story. I like that. I like telling Will stories.
He gives us enough content to get through these episodes.
Oh yeah. He is of all the meatball sandwiches I've met, he's my favorite one.
He is a meatball sandwich.
Yeah.
He
In the
is
best
one.
way.
In a way, yeah. Nah, he's a good kid.
He is.
He's just attracted to grumpy people.
Has he been
Hence, Trace and Ryan.
Yeah.
Yep.
You filled the void.
Dude, it's me and Ryan hanging out at the store on Tuesday, so we'll be there tomorrow. And it is anytime. I think Will has resorted to just hanging out up front because we just roast him constantly, and he loves it. But I think he maybe has his limits. So
We hope.
I hope so.
You love it, Will.
Yeah, I just kept trying to be mean to him, and he just kept coming back.
Yeah.
Just one more.
Yeah.
I mean this in the best way because he is a phenomenal employee and like the dude gets
Yes,
5-star
absolutely.
reviews
Yeah.
daily.
More
It
than
seems
anybody
like.
else that has ever worked
But
here.
he is such a little brother.
Yeah.
He is such a little brother.
Well, and that picture he posted, it was I think one of the last things I said to him when I was still working there was like, "Yeah, Will, you're like the little brother I never wanted." And
He probably loved that. Like he's like,
he's quoted it multiple times.
Yeah, he's got a T-shirt that says it.
I'm pretty sure I remember a story of Will driving on the highway and seeing you and like pulling up next to you and like waving. Like, hey.
We're going 70 down the highway
In the fire truck.
and he's texting
Lights
me.
are on and he's like next to you.
Tries. He's like, he's like texting me. He's like, you should like text me. He's like, oh, I just saw you. I'm like, I know. We're making eye contact. He's like, I almost just crashed. It's like, stop texting at 75.
To be fair, I think Will does that to all fire trucks now.
Yeah.
Just chases him like a dog.
Trace!
Great kid, though. Great kid.
Do you ever you ever see Sadie as you're out? Do you have to stop by hospitals?
Oh, I thought you just meant in general.
Well, yeah, we
You ever see Sadie anymore?
That too.
Sometimes a shift change.
Luckily, no.
Good.
Well, like,
We can cut that.
Yeah.
Re-answer if you
Try
want.
that again.
So luckily-
she's not going to watch this. I know
Yeah.
Sadie. There's not a single one of any of Ryan included. I feel like not a single significant other will tune into this.
she will
Ellie
share
will.
it though.
Ellie has yet to miss an episode.
You're lying.
Yeah,
Shout out
She's
Ellie.
watched every episode.
Holy! So we got AJ, we got Will, and we got Ellie.
Shout out to you,
The
Ellie.
trio.
Yeah. No, Sadie will share it
Yeah.
on her story.
She doesn't even know what she's sharing.
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Nope. This can turn into a nice little Sadie slander session.
Ooh.
No,
I got a few words.
boy, oh boy, where do we start? No, so luckily I have not seen her on the call. Either don't have to respond for her. And then just like where she works in the hospital, like we
Probably wouldn't run into her.
yeah,
she's in
it's
surgery.
in the
Oh, yeah,
like,
that's right. And
it's like the outpatient surgery, so it's all elective surgery stuff.
Right.
So they're not usually riding lights and sirens to the hospital to get a nose job.
Be a bad day if they were.
Fair,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Bad day if they're using the surgery center.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I guess-
Kevin. No.
I forgot she was in surgery center.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you know that was a really good question. Thank you for asking it, Kevin.
appreciate you, Trace.
Well.
Of course.
Yeah. You ever regret leaving?
I have my moments.
Yeah.
I have my
get
moments.
that.
No,
I miss you.
it was a good like 5 or 6 years. Like it
Didn't get
was.
I miss you back, but okay. Keep going.
You're Thomas. You are Thomas. Yes.
We really
Hey, no,
appreciate that.
You were a good best man for me.
That's it. That's not even. I can't even be taken the wrong way.
Oh yeah. I
Being
didn't,
best man's a big deal.
I didn't even lie that much either.
You know,
So good for you, man.
I made people cry during my speech.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But no, man, I do miss working there sometimes.
Yeah.
What any particular aspects?
All of it, I guess. I don't know. It was just different. It with it being like the bulk of my 20s, it was just a very like formative time in my life.
Yeah.
And so even like whenever people ask about, why I became a firefighter, it always goes back to like I was given this opportunity to work at TRIAD and be able to grow it to help grow it to where it is today.
Yeah. A huge part of it.
And so it's just those experiences and like shit, the people I've met through all of the stores and people I've worked with, it's like
You meet so many people.
nothing
It's
I
crazy.
like. I wouldn't trade for anything.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, like, no, there's no one specific thing that like, oh,
No.
I miss this aspect of it. It's just, I don't know. I miss it.
Kind of
Yeah.
Of former employees, you are one that is brought up probably by like customers, I will say, or people that I'm meeting as I'm like getting out, especially in like a new area. Like I will be in a far reach of, a new location, and I'll walk into a CrossFit gym and it's like your name always is always brought up.
Hopefully mostly good things.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I always kind of like,
At least like 50-50.
yeah, no,
Okay,
it
cool.
works really well because people are like, oh yeah, like I know Trace, and I have the best like proxy trust like statement to say afterwards because people are like, oh yeah, I know Trace, I love Trace. I'm like, I was the best man in their wedding, and they're like, oh, so you must be great too, and I'm like, you keep thinking that.
You're really milking that, aren't you?
Oh yeah, for this episode, yes.
Never
I
gonna
write
come
the
up again.
caption for the little details of what goes on in the episode. We'll see if it makes it in there.
Wait, now who was your best man in your wedding, Trace?
I'll have to check the video.
Yeah, I was the best man at Kevin's wedding, but I did miss my flight.
Yeah. You made it for dinner.
I did. I didn't give up.
Oh, you
did
made
not.
it. You made it for the food. Good for you, man. I'm proud of you.
No, I didn't give up. There was a moment where I was like, shit, what do I do?
No, that was a quick back and forth. That's for sure.
Yeah,
So,
I was like, what do I do? I'm like, because the thing that was tough was like, it's not just in St. Louis, it's at the farm. So like, then it's like getting to St. Louis while everybody's already up at the farm. And it was like, somebody's going to potentially have to leave me a car. I'm going to have to figure out a way to get to the car. Then up there, and it's like, I just don't like, I didn't want to be in a situation where they were holding anything up for me, but it was like, but was able to find a flight. And I was like, run the card, let's go.
Yeah.
And so was able to
Make
hop
it
on a
work.
flight and get up there. And I actually, my Uber pulled up to your house right when your guys' bus pulled up to the house, like exact same time.
And we were running late for dinner too, so that could not have been more perfect timing
Yeah.
because we all took a quick shot of whiskey and jumped in.
And away we go.
Yeah, we piled into I think my sister's car, and she drove a group of drunk guys to dinner. I think she had a lot of fun on that ride.
I was gonna say, way to take one for the team.
Yeah.
That had to be a rough drive.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we appreciate her for that. For that sober ride. To Anna, my sister.
Yeah.
Yep. Even Corey was having a good time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Corey's just one of the boys, though.
Yeah.
Dude, you get Corey around a group of guys and
Yeah.
comes out of his shell.
I love me some Corey. I do.
Yeah.
How's Sadie doing?
Dude, she's doing well. I mean, work's going well. She went back to Saints after leaving OU, which perfect timing. So like her contract ended like early mid December last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after she left that OU turned around and like fired like 150 people just all at once. Just
Jeez.
done. They're just like, yep, sorry, we don't need you anymore. Like no notice, nothing. So it's
No
like,
comment.
well, good job leaving, Sadie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she went back to the surgery center. She went back like just part time, like PRN, just pick up a few shifts. I think she's been working at least 4 or 5 days a week since then.
Yeah.
So her part time job has turned into overtime.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
I mean, that's not much different I feel like for us. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
When was the last time we had a part-time person that worked part-time hours?
Dude, yeah, it has been. Yeah, we hire someone
Me?
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trace was part time temporarily.
When I was coaching,
We're up to
Yeah.
15 people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. When we're talking about, like, I literally sent a text in the group chat today that said, like, there's been a lot of texts. Let's just chill out for the next 30 minutes because that thing will go off.
No thanks. That is my nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Like, you're trying to do something on your phone and
The thing that sucks too is because there is genuinely pertinent information in there.
And then it's just gone.
yeah. Yeah.
We've had to create we have like 6 or 7, if not more, specific group chats for like important information so that it doesn't get buried in the waterfall that is the main group chat.
When I was in the academy, we had a group chat for a class, 50 plus people. And it got to the point where we had to create a second group meet of like class 22-2 important stuff.
For real.
Right, though.
Because, that first one, it's, important information, and then 15 questions about what time do we have to be there tomorrow? I don't know. The same time we've been there the last 2 months.
How quickly did someone tell a joke in the important group message?
I think this as soon as it was created.
The thing that's tough though is like when you create an important one, then that means the other one is no holds barred.
Oh,
because
yeah.
like I feel like right now we're still at a point where people don't just send everything that they come across that they think is funny or want to say to the big group. But as soon as you make an important one, that means this one's the unimportant one, and you can say whatever you want. You can just go for
The
it.
day that happens will be the day that I leave that group.
For real though,
I will not be
I
part
want to
of
be in the important one, and the other one is fine.
Yeah.
But that's a legitimate question though, right? Like we, just talking a little bit more back into like the business aspect of things is like, what is the point that you go from everybody being in one group chat, that everybody is involved in everything, that everybody has a vote or a say or whatever? Like, how do you, there is a legitimate time where that split has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, when does that happen? How do you do it? How do you do it elegantly where it's not like, making people like there will be a day that the Dorito gang group chat that we have right now, we will hire somebody new and they won't be put in it.
Yeah.
Like how does one navigate that? That's it's an interesting thing that you don't necessarily think about, or a perspective that we've never had until now is like, okay, now we're getting to this point where it's like, each store has their individual group chats as well. And then we have, all the different ones for whatever reason, but it's a really interesting concept of like, when is it that we aren't just all together on everything? Because you have to get there in order to be 15 stores. When we worked at S2, like we weren't in an S2 wide group chat. There was an S2 wide Facebook like thread for a little bit.
That thing got out of hand so quickly.
I got in trouble in it.
You did.
I got in trouble in it.
You? Sending memes.
Yeah, I sent memes.
I went way further than that. All right, cool.
That was, I still laughed at that moment. It was like, it was I can't even remember why it was created, but it had like 100 people in it or something like that. It's crazy. And like, it was, people going back and forth and sending stuff. I can't remember what it was about. And then one person sent a meme, and that was like relative to the job that like was funny to like people that worked at S2.
Right.
And then it was just like no holds bar, and our manager Jeff was like, "Thomas, make it rain."
And then I got in trouble. And the people are like, "Well, I don't think these are really appropriate." And I'm like, "Dang it, man!"
My boss literally told me.
I was ordered to. I had for my job.
Yeah. Really Jeff's fault.
Yeah. But yeah, it was, but right though, like that didn't exist then. We had our individual ones, and we were even a little bit different because we were kind of on an island being in Springfield, but I'm sure there's not a St. Louis wide one, or there wasn't at the time. And so it's like, you're just to your store, and it's, what an even more interesting like concept. How often, if ever, do you think a Manchester employee went and worked out in St. Peter's because they needed help covering a shift?
Dude, I legitimately have that on my list to start. I think it's like a lot of things, man. To answer that question and the question about like the group chat and whatnot, it is a very slow transition. It's like we're doing like with company meetings. Like we do once a month we do a store meeting right now where
individual stores.
Yeah, where the opportunity comes available when you open up a second, but then you kind of put, when it was just you and Preston in Norman, you're kind of like, if you just do individual store meetings and no company meetings, you guys are on your own island, and Preston doesn't get to know anybody that works at Quill Springs.
Right.
And there's less camaraderie, less like excitement for the company as a whole when you get to see it growing and new people coming on board.
And you
whatnot.
can build like tension between stores where they start to get competitive in a negative way really fast.
Yeah. But we are transitioning in where it's something when Norman first opened up, we really didn't do any individual store meetings at all, but we started, I think we typically do it when like Alyssa and I are either out of town or have something going on or there's something kind of specific. Sometimes we do it just to make sure we get one once a month, because I do think they play an important role, the individual store meetings.
Yeah.
But we do one a month, and we'll eventually transition to where it is probably twice a month or every other week or something like that. And it'll probably transition to what it was like at S2 when we were there, of a company meeting once a month. and 3 individual store meetings a month. So it's I think the group text and the like a lot of other things will kind of be a slow transition. We'll find, and I put that to circle back to what you asked about in the first place was hiring on. Like, I think it'll be a slow transition where every store starts to kind of operate a little bit more independently. I think that helps too when the staff of each store gets a little bigger. When it's 2 people right off the bat, it's tough.
We need help all the time.
Right. You need help covering. If you've got a lot of events, it's tough for 2 people to cover. But I think it'll slowly start to transition where maybe a new store gets a help from a nearby store, but isn't pulling from any store that available kind of situation. So
and so that'll be something like you'll need to be thinking about moving forward. Is like, what's that radius then? Like, what stores are allowed to help other stores?
Right.
Yeah.
What stores are you allowed to help?
Yeah, but it's I think this
Weird.
Yeah. Setting those rules in place will be difficult as well. But right now, it literally is. I'm sure someone has laughed at this at some point or another, but I literally have a piece of paper with like how many hours each store needs, and like each employee works 36 hours at most. Some are part-time, some are split. So I have like little like boxes that I've drawn that and these little cutout pieces of paper with everybody's name on it. And if they're part-time, they're cut in half. We don't have many of those. Yep.
They just don't have a last name.
Yeah.
Vertical, not horizontally. So
What?
But
we should get Polaroids of everyone's like pictures.
And a big whiteboard.
Yeah.
But
I like it. I like that.
Murder mystery.
But I legitimately, and we've been using this a lot in the manager groups of like figuring out like, number one, like as you expand the overlaps, how many hours does that require? Yep. Like, so that's the first problem. And then you have to pull, how many hours do we have available from everybody? Can we pull from anybody? Do we need to hire for this?
Who's maxed out? Who's not?
Who's maxed out? Yeah. Who can work a little extra? Most of the time that's me. Hopefully not for long. We're hiring a little extra here currently. Nice. But it legitimately is like these little pieces of paper and like that fall like everybody's name, and they fall into these boxes for each store and how many hours they require. And that thing has just gotten so complex that it is like, when we first started doing it for Norman, it was like a really nice system, but now it has just gotten to be so much and so detail oriented. Like, it's so easy to make a mistake on that it's eventually we'll have to kind of start to transition into kind of separating those. Yeah.
It kind of has to be, because again, I think like, the point that we're making is when we went to a company meeting, like obviously we didn't know a lot of the St. Louis guys when we were there up in St. Louis, but it's like, how many of the St. Louis guys knew all the other St. Louis guys? Like, how often would, like, especially when you start putting space between, so I'll use St. Peter's and O'Fallon because those are about, at least at the time, about as far away as the stores got. That is one total side of St. Louis to the other total side. That is like not in the same directions, but that's Stillwater to Norman, right? Like that's kind of your idea there, right? Like they're pretty far. O'Fallon's actually in Illinois, just across the river, but it's like, it's a far deal, but it's like, how often do those employees interact with each other? Do they even know each other? Like, you know what I mean? There is no St. Peter's employee who's driving all the way to O'Fallon to help for the day.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you, what is that? Like, how do you navigate that? I mean, that'll obviously be something we'll have to do, and it'll be trick as we're kind of going through it and learn a bit as we go. But it's an interesting thing as we have these aspirations of, and I know, and this slightly changes the topic a little bit, but it's also, how do you do that and maintain the camaraderie and the mission and who we are while we do that? You know what I mean? Because it is less of an all-in-one kind of pushing that same direction.
Yeah.
I gotta pee. I'm sorry. I can't quit.
I'm going to go right after him.
Okay. Ryan, you want to talk?
But no, dude, you're right. Like, everything you guys are shooting for, it's as much as you want to stay shop local, shop small.
Right.
You want to get to
shop
the point,
small for sure. Yeah.
You want to get to the point where employees don't even know each other.
Yeah. Right. And I think that's why the plan has been to maintain company-wide meetings as often as possible.
100%.
To get people involved, to get people,
Yes.
even if you're just having dinner, just like rubbing shoulders, just meeting people. Like, because when we'd go up to St. Louis for those, and it wouldn't be always, but we go up from time to time, and it was like, I would meet people and I would have good conversations with them because, we're having a beer or whatever. And it's like you can make
if
friends.
nothing else, it's just I at least recognize that person. I've seen them in public
Right.
before. Yeah.
And you have, I'm sure, a laundry list of similar stories and things
Yeah.
to talk about and potentially common interests. And it's, but yeah, it is how to get from mom and pop to large business while still maintaining
that feel.
Yeah, that mom and popness
That feel,
to
yeah.
you. And it's like that is a tough thing. Like that will always. I think that's what most companies strive to do, and I think a lot of that is laying the groundwork now, and I think we've done a good job of that. Where it's like you have to have at that point, if you look at it like a family tree, where it's like the top where they all trickle kind of down, is it's like you've got to have the right people in those spots to set that
100%,
expectation of it's like okay, this, and it's like like me here in Yukon with Will, it's like I've got to set it for Will of like, this is how you do it. This is what we're about. And he knows it. And Will's great. He's super easy in this position, but it's like, I've got to get him ready so
he can do the same.
So he can do the same. And then that person can do the same. And then that person can do the same. And then that person, because, Will doesn't want to be the manager of Yukon long term.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
God, is he still up in like North Edmond?
no, he's over, he lives over by Ryan and he lives over by me.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Midtown homies. We get together like once a week.
Ooh.
And we've never gotten that. Not even close.
Just at the store.
Ryan doesn't even respond to my text messages.
I don't have your number saved.
Yeah. Well,
I have to look it up.
Trace used to be a Midtown homie.
yeah.
Oof, man, years ago. Ooh.
Now he's a suburb guy.
Always has been, always will be.
Yeah. Nichols Hills. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get it.
Ooh. Nichols Hills. Are you technically Nichols Hills?
I am. Yeah.
Do you brag about that when people ask for your address when you like go
I
into it?
I actually got a lot of shit about that at the academy. it was like day 2. One of our training officers, like Lieutenant Vaughn, he's like, "Hey, who's the Nichols Hills address in here? There's only one of you." I was like, "That's me. I'm sorry." He's like, "Nice house."
And you're like, they were like, what's your name? And it's like, Roger, but I go by Trace.
It's
Roger Thews the third.
it's the third.
Yeah.
So I got bullied a lot.
Yeah.
Long story short.
Good. You've deserved
Yeah.
it your whole life. And they were like, yeah, but you went to like a normal high school though.
Yeah, everything else about me is.
Super normal.
What high school did you go to, Trace?
You wouldn't have heard of it. It's not from around here.
At least you don't have like still a lot of pride in it or anything. Like you don't have like a whole bunch of stuff in your house.
Not anymore.
Not a whole bunch.
Yeah, this is like sweaters and dog leash and dog
define
leash.
a lot.
Do you have
Oh,
over or under 50 items?
Under.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. That's
yeah.
We're making some real headway.
We're getting to like normal human levels.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
For
good.
growth.
Look at you.
We like
Yeah.
Look
that.
at you.
I mean, it's not like it's an academy.
Right.
Like I said, you wouldn't get it.
I wouldn't. I for sure wouldn't.
You didn't grow up in an academy?
No, I didn't.
No.
Went to public school.
Same.
It shows.
Yeah.
You classless fool.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We didn't have. They offer fencing.
We did.
Well, there you go, everybody.
Yeah.
I had a fencing team, huh?
Yeah.
We did.
Yep. Of course you did.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of those sports.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Rowing?
Well, yeah, that's where I learned.
My high school did not have a rowing team.
mine either.
Yeah. Fencing, rowing, sailing, polo.
Yeah.
Did you have a cycling team?
Ooh, we did not.
I figured you might have.
Do any high schools have a cycling team?
It's big East Coast and West Coast, but not really anything Middle America.
Not Midwest.
We're good there.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, it's not like, like any presidents or vice presidents have like houses in the area.
You said you had to go to the bathroom, right? This is a safe time.
Everybody's trying to figure out by context clues where Trace went to high school now. Some people I'm sure know.
I'll say it if you didn't.
You'll figure it out.
I even met other
be right
people
back.
from that high school here,
Really?
which is funny.
Here in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, a couple, not a ton. But I worked with one at the hospital. I worked with one of them.
How were they?
About what you'd expect.
So like a Trace.
Yeah.
You know, making fun of Trace now just doesn't quite have the ka-chow that it did before.
I don't know. I'm having fun.
No, I mean that is
I got
fun.
plenty of ka-chow.
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm born with it.
I ate some ka-chow chicken the other night.
Yeah.
Dude, that is kind of interesting though, man. We going back to where you were talking about like employees kind of like jumping around a little bit. We can refer back to Supplement Superstores and First Form and our time there, and like the window of time that we saw is still years ahead of where we're at right now. And it gives us a really clear blueprint on how to handle a lot of things.
Got to peer into it a little bit.
Yeah, but one thing we didn't really get to see is how things operate with more than just a couple of stores. Where when it was just Quail Springs and Norman, we kind of had an idea on how to operate generally because we were used to the North and South store in Springfield.
Yeah, and we like TRIAD has ran like the North and South store of Springfield.
Right. Yeah, naturally, because that's
what we know. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Adding a third is getting a little past that, but still somewhat familiar territory. But we were around when there was 11, 12 stores?
Yeah.
Kind of somewhere in that range for Supplement Superstores where they're at
I don't even know, 30?
20? Yeah, close to probably. If it's not 30, it's got to be close. But
I want to say I want to say they've eclipsed 30, but I might be wrong.
Might.
Because they're pretty far up into Illinois now.
Yeah, I feel like
They're in
they've been
Springfield, Illinois.
Really.
Yeah, they were like pretty far up into Illinois.
I know they've got a lot in the Kansas City area now.
Yeah,
like I feel like
Kansas City, like obviously the Columbia area, Springfield, St. Louis, but then like the Illinois side is where they and in the Kansas side of Kansas City too. Like they're in Overland Park and they're in a lot. They've like really started to kind of go out that way.
I feel like I've heard maybe it's just rumors, but maybe Arkansas area.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like that would kind of make sense. But
Yeah, I mean, like you have
the Northwest area of Arkansas.
Yeah,
It's popping off.
Yeah,
so I
for
feel like
sure.
they
a lot
would
of towns
do well there.
Yeah, for sure. And they're close enough with Springfield, I think. So
yeah, Springfield's not far at all.
yeah,
Tell them Tulsa's off limits.
we need to go mark our territory.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, are you guys going to beat them there?
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to bring up because that is one that people ask about a lot.
Yeah.
That is a leap.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because you essentially have to commit probably 2 people to moving there for a year, probably 2 years. And one of those people probably has to stay. Like you have to, like, one can be temporary, one's there. And then you've got
at least until you can hire someone as a manager in Tulsa.
Right.
And management takes 2-3 years.
Right. Like I think that's the thing is it would be, myself and somebody else goes there and it's like I'm there for a year or 2. They're there for at least, and then they manage and take over and then as it expands, then it's kind of picking up new things. But yeah, the nice thing is like I think we're on a good path where like I don't want to speak out of turn, I guess, but like I feel like we at least have a few more Oklahoma City spots in us before that leap really makes sense.
Oh yeah,
where it's like you can have somebody who regionally oversees or a couple people and can kind of live out there for a while and then also do things like even once they potentially move back, do things like, make that trip. It's not a long trip, you know, and start spending, somewhat a decent amount of time out there, spending a day a week or a day every 2 weeks out there and kind of, just being a part of it, because it's a super tough thing. But this is something we've talked about recently, is like you have to build who's going to be there. You can't move somebody random once it's established. Like you can't have a new manager introducing themselves to your most regulars. Like not in the way that we do things. I feel like that's a bridge that's really tough to cross.
I think one thing that's not fully understood, or at least underestimated, is the amount of awareness of the brand and how much that plays into a new store.
Oh yeah.
And I think Norman and Yukon are perfect examples of that, where Norman was 45 minutes away from Quail Springs, our first store that was really chugging along and doing well and really making some big strides. And we opened up Norman, and it did well, especially relative to Quail Springs, the first store. Yeah. But it still, Norman took a lot of work, man. It was quite a bit of time it was quite a bit of effort to keep that thing going. But Yukon is 20 minutes away from Quail Springs, and this thing is just, dude, we're like struggling to keep up with it because we are close enough proximity to people that are aware of Triad.
Everybody's already heard of it.
Right. Yeah. Where you look at Tulsa, and I'm sure there are people in Tulsa that know about Triad, but not nearly as many people in Tulsa as there is in Yukon that know about Triad. So people underestimate, like, we pop a store there, and it's going to be some time and quite a bit of work to get that thing up.
It's going to be Quail Springs all over again.
Exactly. Yeah. We might have a handful, like, again, Tulsa, but like you got to put it in there, like, you got, let's say even 100 people in Tulsa, you got to pick the area, and you probably might get 20.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you're lucky.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's a tough one for sure.
It is. Yeah. I don't think people understand, because like we get recommendations on like where to open up stores, and understandably, like,
and Tulsa would be a good spot.
Yeah, for sure. And we want to be there. We want to be in a lot of areas,
right.
But I think it's underestimated how much harder it would be to open up a store in Tulsa than it would to open up another store in the OKC metro area, where there is more room, a lot more room. I think we can do at least double the amount of stores in OKC that we have currently.
Oh, yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Nice. Well, one of the things that kind of happens, and this is a really interesting like kind of topic, is you start to talk about cannibalism, right? And that's always a topic that's, when you have businesses and things.
Like stores or in general?
For now, we'll table the in general, but we'll go for in-store.
Let's not forget.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, put a marker.
We'll circle back.
Yeah. But look, one of the things that I think is an important aspect of this, of course, there are individual stores, and those have to do certain things and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, as long as they're shopping at Triad, you never lose a customer.
Yeah.
One of the underestimated things, though, is it's kind of like moving, like if you move money from one savings account to another savings account, did you lose that money? No, it's just in a different space, right? But one of the things that I think we realized potentially here and with going to other new places is how that's the correct analogy is more like taking some money from one savings account and putting it in like an investment account where it multiplies much faster.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is we typically, but at least so far, our closest stores to each other are about 23 minutes away. Within that radius, we have noticed that people are willing to drive 23 minutes to come somewhere every other month, right? Yeah. Like every other month. They'll come, but it's every other month for sure. So if you have a we'll just try to make math easy. Like let's say you have 500 customers coming from some new area. We'll use Yukon. Let's say they have 500 customers going to the Quail Springs store every other month, or at least come twice, and we have 500 of them. Well, when you come to Yukon, that 500 is actually worth a lot more than 500. Yeah. You can't compare apples to apples. If you go somewhere where you already do have an established reputation, what happens is that multiplies, because when they were willing to come to you every other month, well, now they might be coming to you every other week or every week. Yeah. And now we're starting to look like, okay, 500 customers from like an actual customer value spot going somewhere where we have 500 customers that already have like somewhat of an established relationship with us might be worth 2,000 brand new customers.
Yeah.
And that is a huge thing for us, because now you've essentially multiplied that customer just by themselves. And so, coming out here or going somewhere where we have that bit of an established relationship, kind of back to what Kevin was talking about, was like, we go to Tulsa, we are grinding for every single one of those 2,000 customers, where we go to somewhere in the metro where we maybe have a little bit more of an, obviously more of this. And it's not to say the grind didn't not exist. A lot of it already happened. Though, and you were able to kind of benefit in a way where it's like, if I take 500 customers from Quail Springs, am I cannibalizing? Well, yes and no, but I'm also potentially turning it into the value of like 2,000 people walking in my doors all the time.
It's not to mention like how much we spread via word of mouth. Either is, if you have 10 customers shopping with you and you put the effort in with them to double that, and get to 20, it's a lot nicer when you start out with 500 as opposed to 10. And
then they go, oh, that place I was going to, there's one right down the street now. Well, now you start to look like, okay, but that value, those customers, the Yukon customers, are way more valuable, not just even money-wise, but just way more valuable to Yukon than they ever were to Quail.
Yeah.
Because we're going to see them more, they're going to talk to more people, they're going to invite more people, they're going to have a better relationship. It's like, okay, them as an actual customer gets turned up a lot.
Well, so I ran into the exact same thing whenever we opened up Norman, because it was people we'd see from more in Norman, again, once every 2, 3, 4 months even.
Right.
And I see them every single shift I worked in Norman.
Right.
Because it wasn't even huge burchases or buying a ton of stuff. But
that doesn't necessarily matter.
Now that you're here, I will go and buy some drinks and snacks.
Well, sure.
I'll see you tomorrow.
And the thing that's, and the thing that's the real value I feel like there is when I go from seeing you every 2 months, you're, oh, hey, what was that last day? Thews. Yeah. Hey, Trace, that's right. How you been, man? To now you're in once or twice a week. I'm like, Trace, what's up, dude? How's Sadie? Like, how are the dogs? Like, how's firefighting training going? Like, has it been good? And and this is where us hiring the right people is so important, is because we do take a genuine interest in people's lives. You are now giving me 4 times the amount of opportunity for us to be friends. And that's all I want. I just want us to be friends.
Oh shit. Now I can just go hang out.
Right. And that's when people go from, again, coming in and being like, I know who you are. Like, I really appreciate you shopping with us, to being like, I know your wife's name. I know your kids' names. I know what you do on the weekends. You've come to jujitsu with me. Like, there's all sorts of new avenues that present themselves of just like establishing your relationship with your clientele.
That's you read the book, the biography on Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah.
One of the more interesting parts, and one thing that like I've like at least taken into account, maybe not like blindly, but at least factored in, is he was really big on, when they would release a new product, and he would take it to the board or testing groups or whatever, and people would be nervous. Oh, if we release this new product, it'll take away from sales from this old product. It's like, well, if this is better, if people are buying this new product over our old product, that creates opportunity. If we don't do it, someone else will do it.
Right.
And that was a huge, so we could, if you factor that in, like, obviously, if having a store 0.2 miles north of where Quail Springs is more ideal for us. It's like, we can't open a second one, maybe move. Would be a good opportunity. But opening in Yukon, I think, is a good reference or a good example of this, of like, Yukon did take customers from Quail Springs, a noticeable amount.
Yeah.
Luckily, Quail Springs is somehow still growing, which is crazy to me.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So the amount we estimated to take, we essentially did about what we did last year, but still obviously took customers. We see Quail Springs customers here, and I believe that we are taking at least that chunk of that we expected in sales and customers from Quail Springs. But Quail Springs essentially is not showing that. So in my opinion, that is growth minus what customers were taking from Yukon.
Yeah.
So essentially, where I'm getting at is, we could say Yukon will take away from Quail Springs customers and the growth and what we would be seeing there. So we're adding expenses to just take away. But someone is capable of doing really well out in Yukon. And if that's not us, like why would we let that opportunity go to someone else?
Yeah.
Right. Because then, like you're saying, it's like, well, that same 500 customers might establish a new relationship somewhere, like with somebody new who did take the chance there.
Right. Someone else opens up and yeah, that is now, we're not just missing that opportunity in Yukon. We are losing those customers at Quail to someone else.
When in reality, like I was just saying, is it's like you can really unlock the true like value of like the relationship building and all the aspects of like seeing these people when you don't lose them, right? You just transfer them, and on top of transferring them, you get to be 10 times closer to them, like not just location but like relationship wise.
That is a good point.
I'm at your gym now. I'm able to really build a relationship.
I'm now able just to be a friend.
Right, 1,000%.
It's not just convenient.
I literally stopped by a gym today and was talking to the owner of the gym and was just kind of explaining to him, like, dude, it's been so cool being out here and just like becoming friends with you guys. Like, I really genuinely enjoy you guys, and I'm just here shooting the shit, like just hanging out. You know what I mean? Before coming back here for the podcast, and
we moved. We added a gym membership for Will out here in Yukon. I'm out here more often than the other stores, I would say. But I've been working out here more frequently as well, just trying to be part of the community here.
Right.
So,
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. It's crazy. So I think that when we start talking about, I think a lot of that has really started to factor in on like, how do we grow? You know what I mean? Do you go to the complete opposite end of somewhere? Do you go as far away as possible?
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of had two experiments with that. Like we had Norman where it's like, let's get the F away from us. And then we've had Yukon
play
where
it
it's
safe.
Like, let's try a close one and let's see. And now it's like, okay, well now that's that will absolutely factor into what the next location looks like. You know, does it make more sense to go way out here, or does it make sense to be 23 minutes away in the direction we're choosing to go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it gives us more of a feel on how close is too close, how far is too far.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And like then from my perspective, especially being on the outside now, it looks like either option would be a good option.
Yeah. Which is the real blessing of the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Overall, like it seems like at least there's not a wrong choice.
No.
Like I said, there's always going to be, you know, if you go to Tulsa or Stillwater, something like that, there's going to be more work, a lot more work.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
then we start establishing that.
Yeah.
And then it starts to become where, you know, another one starts to.
Exactly.
You can put another one in that sweet spot distance away from it.
Right.
Yeah.
Start to do the whole thing over again.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, is like it creates like anything, like we can make anything work, but it kind of creates this sweet spot. What's the path? What's the easiest path?
Yes.
Yeah. 100%.
Or like, and I know we've said this almost ad nauseum to each other, but it's like, what location for 4 makes it so that 5 is realistic the fastest?
Right.
Does going here get us there, or does going there get us here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When we were looking for this store, I don't know how many times that was brought up in meetings. Like, which ones gets us to our next store faster?
Yeah.
Right. And gives like the opportunity for the next store or something else to arrive. You know, what gets us to the warehouse? Okay, cool. Here we go.
Yeah, I think you were around for both discussions too, and how much time and effort we put just as a group, like not even individual time that anybody else spent, but as a group talking about opening Norman. You know, how good, like, you know, how did we arrive on that as the area that we wanted to open the second store? You were around for talks of Yukon too, right?
I was, yeah.
We were at what stage? Because you left in July, right?
I left, end of July. And then the official grand opening was
January.
And
but
so
we opened in November.
So I think
I
think by the time I left, we were like, you guys were just signing the lease for here.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, because we hired Noah and he took your hours.
Yep.
And then we went through that spurt of hiring to prepare for Yukon, which was Ian, Alex, and Christian. I think were the hires.
So I remember I worked a lot with Ian and Christian, or Ian and Alex. Sorry.
Ian and Alex, yeah.
I don't think I worked with Christian all that much.
Yeah, Christian's in Norman.
Okay.
Alex is now also in Norman.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's they've got a good man. They mesh well in Norman. It's
good.
We're kind of like
all the kids. Okay.
All of the kids. Yeah. Trace hitting us with that Norman trash talk segment.
Yeah. What's funny is that, but it is true because we have these like little micro generations within our own like family of employees.
Yeah.
Where I agree with you. And I have Will and Kaylin, who were the babies for forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, you do have the kids. I kind of have the grown-ups.
Yeah.
The
Will and Kaylin, the grown-ups.
Yeah, the version of grown-ups. Aunt, Auntie Kaylin and Uncle Will.
Gosh, that is probably how a handful of employees here see.
Well, wait until the next group of employees, and then the next group, and,
And
the
then
next group, and the next. Like
Hasi. Is Hasi our youngest employee?
Yes.
Yeah, wait till he's one of the old guys.
Yeah, wait till he's an old geezer.
Yeah.
And he's bringing up things that the new kids don't know nothing about.
Stuff we don't know anything about.
Yeah. Wait till he hires somebody who was in kindergarten when he was a senior in high school. And I'll be 47.
Yeah, I guess we hadn't had we officially signed the Yukon lease whenever
I think so.
Because I know we had to wait on build out before
Yes.
we could really kind of get rolling.
I
with it.
don't think build out had started.
Yeah.
But if we had Ian and Alex, that means that the lease was signed because we didn't bring on anybody
Yes.
until the lease was signed. So
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I was with in both of those discussions, and like I don't know how many like staff meetings were devoted just to where are we going,
And how many
guys?
conversations outside of
Yeah.
that? And
dude,
how much research?
how much data? Yeah, no, all of it was worth it though.
Like,
all
oh,
of it
for
was
sure.
worth it. Yeah.
Our entire Fridays, like meetings would finish up, and then Kevin,
All
you'd
right.
just be at the desk, just
Pull the map up.
yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's super valuable though. I think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
super valuable to like learn through that so that when the next opportunity arises, we kind of, just like with anything, with opening a new store, not just the location, how to do it, how to like where to go, what relationships to try to establish.
like how long did Norman take versus how long did Yukon take versus how long will number 4 take, and it just each periods,
our
cut in half.
like metric that we've kind of gone for that is how long does it take to get like an overlap or multiple people on the weekend at a place, and it was like how long at Quail?
I think 3 years,
3 years. Norman was what?
year and a half,
Year and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our third month in Yukon.
Yeah.
Now we're like gonna have essentially I have three full-time employees and one part-time employee at Yukon in month 5.
Yeah, before half a year.
For real.
Yeah. No, that is. I mean, Thomas brought up recently, like at what point do we have a store that we open? We just have to start with an overlap.
Yeah.
For real though.
Yeah.
And I think that is where, I don't want to get anybody excited, so I'm going to not name specific areas, but that's where, you look at a place that, where let's say we had a 500 customer, thing here. Well, if this is what potentially, when done right or whatever, translates to that 500 customers turning into 2,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then what happens when we go somewhere where we're a little bit more established, right? Mm-hmm. What does it look like when we go to the place that has 750 or 1,000? These are all made up numbers, but you guys are getting the idea of it's like when that multiplies itself into being like 5,000 dings on the door. And I think that's a good way to put it. It's like customers, like, what was 500 dings is now equal to, with the same customer base, 2,000 dings. Well, what does 1,000 dings turn into? 4,000 dings. And at that point, you're like out the gate. I need help now.
Yeah.
Because if obviously hindsight's 2020, but knowing what we know now, Yukon, we probably would have tried to start with an overlap because we would have only had. I mean, it was January when we were starting to like really start to consider it. And be like, man, this might be worth it because you don't want to pull the trigger too fast. You have one busy day.
Yeah,
you don't add thousands of dollars in payroll because of one busy day.
Right.
It's you have to see trends. You have to see like day after day busyness. So, but it was I think it was January when we did actually finally make that decision.
Right.
So it would have been nice. We could have started January with an overlap, I would say.
If you want to hear something really interesting, just based off last month's numbers, I'm obviously
I'm
not
good.
going to give last month's numbers, but UConn did 83% of what Norman did last month.
That's
83%. And there was times where we were splitting the day between two people.
and Norman is growing. Norman
big
probably
time growing.
probably set a record this month.
Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah, they hit something I never saw there. And we did 83% of what they did here at our...
How's Norman doing in all this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He doesn't manage that.
They're doing great, man. I think that's like that's a cool thing is I think again just talking about the playbook or learning kind of what our normal path is.
Yeah.
I think we did the right thing with Preston and I think we got some really good guys in there. We moved some people around, found some really good transitional help in the form of like Alex coming from Quail. We got Christian and we got Hasi who are from down there to kind of continue to establish it. And I think Preston's done a phenomenal job of taking over as the manager. I've said this before and I'll say it again to everybody who, because again, I'm kind of in that like business development of like at the new locations and kind of going like, I hope to be the worst manager the store ever has. And I think Preston is doing a really good job to establish that.
Yeah.
It's, I talk to people all the time at the gyms that we're close to. If I go to Kaizen or Crunch or Coda Norman or, I could name all of them and they're all great. But, I go down there and you start to see, relationships that I had be transitioned onto somebody else and them withholding them just as good, if not better than I was doing. And that's such a cool thing. I'll go down there from time to time and I'll have people that I know just be like, because they'll be like, hey, how's everything going? And they will like come, I won't even ask. They'll just go out of their way to explain to me like, man, I just want you to know ever since you left, like, man, those guys are doing so awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's still the same place I walk into every day. Like it's just, I know I don't see you as much because you're not down there anymore, but it's like, man, I've really made friends with all these guys. And it's like, that's such a cool thing.
Outside of not seeing you, nothing's changed. It's only gotten better.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's like a huge sense of pride for me because, Norman is still my baby in a lot of ways. Like it's like I spent so much time, like we all did, kind of like, and the thing is, and what's so cool about it and having the situation that we had with Preston is it's just as much his.
Yeah.
Like it's just as much his baby. Like he has been there just slightly less than I have. You know what I mean? And just because mine was the one that said manager on it, like that doesn't mean that he wasn't putting in the same amount of work or establishing the same amount of
Especially at
relationship.
that point in time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that's what he knows too. Where you've got some experience in kind of some other areas. Dude, day one, he was pretty much. I mean, he was like everybody else, part time for a very short period of time until he needed extra hours.
I think it was like 6 minutes.
Yeah, dude, that is the most common theme.
Just day one.
we
actually.
need 20 hours to help fill this overlap, and then we can't even get to the end of training. Sometimes not even the end of hiring
literally
before
just did
we're like, hey, how interested are you in full time?
Yeah. Well, I really feel like we're going to get the best out of him at full time. So let's just pull the trigger. Let's just move him full time.
Literally every time. I think Anthony was the person that went part time the longest.
Yeah.
Dude, he stuck it out.
Well, and here's a thing that, and kind of transitioning this conversation to something that I think rolls right along with it. But one of the other struggles that I think we're going to start to hit, and I was just talking to AJ about this too, is the time expectancy of base level employee to leadership has drastically shrunk. It used to be, how long was Anthony a part-time employee?
Yeah, you were there to watch Anthony from day one until
because he was a part-time employee
until management.
How long was he a part-time employee though?
Dude, potentially the better part of 2019.
I was going to say, I thought it was around a year.
He was, we brought him on. We brought him on early. His first day, I think, was the day after Alyssa's first day. So I think it was it was March of 2019, and I think we almost made it to the end of that year with him still part-time.
Right.
So,
and now we can't even get somebody through training, right?
yeah.
And how long was it? And now look at his road for, being the first manager is like, what was his road? He spent a year, let's just call it a year. He spent a year part-time. Now we have like employees who it's like, hey, in a year, be ready.
Yeah.
I need you ready in a year.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. Like we're at a point now where it's like,
Not
2
full time,
years,
but stepping into leadership.
like you're kind of your time expectancy, and obviously not for everybody because everybody's got their own path. But it's like now it's like we went from Anthony spending a year part time to Preston being a manager, barely sub 2,
Right.
or right at 2.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's like, look at Will. Like Will, obviously we're not there yet. Like, Will could keep getting too many pennies and then just get overlooked. But it's one of those things where he's got, or anybody in a similar position. I don't want to keep just specifically putting it to names, but it's like right now, it's like, okay, cool. If you do the things you're supposed to do and you're the person that we need you to be, you got about 2 years until you're running a spot. And then what does that look like in, 2 years from now?
Yeah.
And 2 years from now, are we looking like, okay, I need you ready in a year. I need you ready in a year from day one. And it's like, how do we, again, continue to condense down like what we need to establish within the people that we have in order to make it so that they can be successful once these leadership opportunities present themselves to them.
Trace kind of had an interesting story on coming from part-time to full-time that I would actually genuinely like to hear from your perspective.
We're regarding. Okay. Cool. Good talk. So regarding just like coming on, I was working
because you were at Twice Bitten
coaching full time,
and
I was able to work 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Cool. I can give you 9 to 11. That's it.
Those are wonky shifts back in the day. We were doing whatever anybody was available for at that point in time.
And then it was like randomly one day. Came in, you're like, hey, so Eric's not going to be with us anymore. Can you go full time? And so that was, immediately after that, I went to the owner of Twice Bitten and I was like, hey, so tried to offer me this position. Like, I think I really want to take it. It's a really, really cool opportunity. If you can just give me a slight raise, I'll turn him down. Like, I'll stay part-time, no worries at all. And it got to the point where he was like, nope, sorry, can't do it. Here are ways you can work more hours here. It's like, well, not quite what I'm asking for. So, I tried to leave there as best I could. Like, hey, here's a 1 month notice. And even then I'll help a couple weeks after too, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it was like, I felt like I'd try to give them every opportunity to like, I want to stay. Show me you want me to stay, and I will. Yeah. And I just didn't get that feeling from them. So it was like, I don't want to say I fell into it, but I kind of fell into like, cool, like, let's just grow Triad. Like, let's take this off. Let's see where it can go. Yeah. I mean, we were in a kind of a position where it was both you and Eric part-time, and Eric was finding some opportunities in some other areas and still kind of feeling out Triad and decided to take a little bit different path. And well, in his defense, I mean, he was also starting a very different part of his life. Yeah, he had he just finished up training and found out that he was pregnant with twins. Pregnant with twins, yeah. And so like that's tough to all right, well. That is a huge factor into that whole decision. But we were in a position where it was like, man, I'm doing about 40 hours and I've got 2 part-time guys and we're open for about 80 hours. Yeah. It's like, man, like I could hire another part-time person. But the thing is we were in a month where we were seeing a huge amount of growth. We saw prior to that, I guess I don't know how to explain this super well, but
one of the biggest leaps in growth we saw was genuinely Eric's last month. Not related at all, but your first month.
I'm just kidding, Eric.
your the month that you made the decision to come on, that we offered you full time, you made the decision to come on full time was one of the biggest, relatively like percentage wise, was probably one of the biggest jumps we've ever made as a company. But with him leaving and you going, you part time currently, we're like, man, I think we're probably going to need some more help. We're probably going to have to hire, before we even knew Eric was going to leave. It was like, oh crap! Like, not only do we need another person, we have a person leaving, and it was like, man, it's me kind of operating things, and we're showing that the changes that we were making, that I was talking about earlier, are actually paying off.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we're covered for that and can handle everything. And it was like, man, we're going to hire on either way, but like, I really kind of need a go-to person. And actually came from my grandpa was, hey, you need a right-hand man right now, because it's just you.
Yeah.
And you've got some employees, but you need a go-to person, because we get events that pop up. It can be really long days. Employees come and go from time to time. And you need people to kind of help cover. Things happen. People get sick. You're a very small staff, so you need a go-to person.
Mm-hmm.
And we essentially went to you, and it was like, man, like financially, like what do you need to be able to come on?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the funniest part is you were brought on for a position that I really don't think anybody else had at the time. It was me, and it was, my business card said just owner operator.
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know what Trace's position really is, because he's kind of the only other person here. It was like, we're going to go with assistant operator. So, because anything I'm not doing, Trace is doing. And literally everything else. If I'm not doing it, it's because Trace is doing it.
Well, so I think from my point of view, it was like, or now I guess in hindsight is, you guys had your period of with the 3 owners, just trying to get your feet wet, figure out what's going on with the store.
Mm-hmm.
Then it got to the point where this huge transition, 2/3 of the ownership's leaving. You're bringing on 2 part-time guys. You're training them. We have no idea what's going to pan out with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes, everything with Eric, it sucked. I loved working with him.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been awesome to see.
Still great friends with him.
Absolutely.
We should probably clarify.
Yeah, dude, still love interacting with him whenever I do see him. And I would love to see him, what he could have done for the store moving forward. But I think once we kind of got it narrowed down to just you and I, and we were like, all right, cool. It's us. We have to do something. We only had one option, and that was to make it grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once we were able to be forced into that position,
mm-hmm.
that's when, at least for me, from my point of view, that's when Triad really was just cool. This is what we're doing. It's just,
we're all or nothing.
Yeah. And I feel I remember having this conversation with Sadie. I'm sure it came up at the store, but it's everything we need to do, at least my mindset was we need to fail quickly. We talked about it earlier. It's let's not drag this out.
Yes,
we need to go for it.
That was it was a huge mantra at that time. It's hey, if we're gonna fail, let's do that this year, not 5 years from now.
Yeah,
let's go on a blaze of glory.
Mm-hmm. Dude, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So everything we were doing, it seemed like we were just swinging for the fences, and I'm sure,
thank goodness.
I'm sure you would have better insight on this, but it seemed a lot of those things we got a little lucky on, and
a little bit,
and then finally just got to the point where, oh, cool, this is just what we do. This is who we are now.
We figured out how to produce growth. We learned some ways to genuinely produce that, and we saw a handful of record months that year, and that following January was just bananas. Mm-hmm. It was and that's where we brought on Anthony and Alyssa, and just snowballed from there. Yeah.
Well, that's it though. It becomes a point where tying together what we were talking about before and tying together what you guys are talking about now is it's either death by 1,000 cuts and just slowly bleed out, mm-hmm. or it's you can't hit the ball unless you swing. Mm-hmm. You just gotta at some point go for it, or slowly watch it just kind of limp away. And it's at some point it's kind of fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because I think you and I were both in the same point, same stage of life at that point. It was like, we're both, in our mid-20s or whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
Not a crazy amount of expenses or a big family or anything.
But it was like, at that point, we're like, we want this, like, we need this to happen. But if it's not going to happen, I can't necessarily be restarting my life at 35.
Right.
I can make a shift right now if I need to, whatever. Not a huge, whatever.
I remember talking to my family about it and talking to my uncle and my grandpa, and there are a couple of people that own businesses in my family. And I remember that year telling them, I was like, I'm nicknaming this year the year of risky spending. Yeah. And they both cringed at that so much, but I think they maybe just, I'm sure they had been there, but they maybe had just like not, it had been so long since they had been there that
if I
they
were to 2% that to you now.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. It was just like, I've completely forgotten about that mantra that you just brought up of like, let's either fail, like grow or fail fast.
Yeah.
Like, and I can't even remember where that came from. Probably something we read, but like we talked about it a lot that year. And it was like, and I'm talking to my family, like 2018 is the year of riskier spending because I don't want to sit here and slowly fail.
I don't want to drag this out.
Right. Exactly.
Whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we brought you on full time, kind of became the go-to person.
Yeah.
We hired on Alfonso. You introduced him to everybody as the intern.
Yeah.
And dude, that's crazy to think about the days of like you, me, and Alfonso, man. That was
a long period. Yeah.
That was a long period of time. That was most of 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Which is now it's like, 8 months. That was forever.
Yeah. It's really interesting, and kudos to you because this is something that gets brought up a lot with our newest employees, or even as we kind of go through the hiring process. But it was something that was said about you that we still quote like to this day, and that is like when you were brought up as a potential person to bring on to work. The thing that we all said was like, we trust you with a key today. Not even working here yet. Like we'd give you a key to the store. Like Trace is somebody I would give a key to the store today to. Yeah. And it's like, and that's a cool thing. It's cool that has kind of lived, from.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You can still have one if you want it. But it,
you might still have one.
I do still have the Yukon one.
Right.
I'll return that.
Yeah, you're fine.
Melissa's been asking about that.
Yeah. Well, why does he need one? Just in case. I don't know. But no, it has been cool though that is something that has like stood kind of the test of time as we've continued to find people is like, is this somebody we give a key of the store to today? And so I think it's cool because that definitely originated with the hiring of you.
It's funny how your interview process was the most from
chaotic,
the hip.
I guess. Yeah.
It was really easy. It was one question. Help? Question mark.
Like I'm sure I still have that Facebook message saved.
Yeah.
Of like you messaging me of like, hey, like here's what's going on. Would you have any interest in helping?
Yeah.
And at that point, like I think Sadie and I had just like gotten together, like just started dating. And I was like, hey, like what do you think of this? And she was like, if it'll help get you. I love these guys as much as I can, but it's just like if they can get like steer you out of TBC, like yes. Yeah.
That's hopefully we were a good family for your time.
No, I mean, like I said, I don't work with you guys anymore, but it's still like every time you guys are getting together, like if it fits my schedule, like I want to be there.
Yeah.
And
you were big on that when you were leaving.
Yeah.
So.
I know Alyssa gave me shit about it, but I'm more excited to be there now that I don't work with you guys.
Yeah, I get that though.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, to be fair, now that I don't see you guys every single day,
right,
every single hour,
we're a little bit more tolerable that way.
Small doses.
Yeah. Back to Will. I just spoke to him for like 3 messages, and I'm good for a year or so.
Good dose of Will.
Yeah, absolutely. No, man, it's again, like every time people ask me about like why I wanted to be a firefighter, like what pushed me to it is like I can't even begin to talk about that until I talk about my time with Triad and like how much like because like I remember talking to my parents about this, like going through the interview process of like just the stuff that I was able to, I guess, bring to the table, or like the stuff that I was even able to talk about, isn't even a thought process if I don't have my time at Triad or my time with Define. Because I was talking to a handful of firefighters about like some of my officers about like, oh, like I remember going down to Station 1 back in like when I first moved down to Oklahoma City, like right when I started Twice Bitten, grabbing a paper application, like starting to fill it out, but I was like, like it's just not the time. Like I have other opportunities, like I'm able to coach, do stuff like that.
Right.
But it's like in hindsight, like there's no way in the world I would have been hired just be like through what I'd been through, my life experience, stuff like that. What I feel like I've been able to contribute to Triad, like that is 1000% the only reason I'm where I'm at today. And just able to contribute, like help and give back to the city in now a larger scale, in a very different scale.
Right. Sure.
But
a more pressing one.
Huh?
Yeah.
A more pressing one.
Slightly. Yeah. But no, it's like I said, whenever people ask me about like why I'm here, like why I made the choices I did, 99% of that conversation is because of Triad.
Yeah.
Because of what
cool,
you guys have given me, like what you guys have taught me, and like what I've been able to learn trial and error, is like the only reason I'm where I'm at today.
Super cool to hear. And I think one of the things that's neat is like we do kind of have a unique situation because we are this is going to sound wrong, but I think it'll make sense in a second. It is almost like working at Triad is almost like the wolf in the sheep's clothing of like, it seems like from the outside, like not a tough place to work, like not a tough job.
You see us all posting on our stories playing basketball in the warehouse.
Right. Yeah. And then like you come in and actually work. And I've told this to many people many times, and I've worked a lot of different places, that doing this is the most challenging job I've ever had in my life. And it's not even close. And so I think what we offer in that is like almost an expectation coming into it that it's going to be something that it's potentially not. Then this almost, I can't say surprise because you were warned many times prior to coming on. Right. But it's like, but then the realization of what it's actually going to be like. And then most importantly is the camaraderie to get through it and to do it together. And I think those three things in the combination of something that everybody believes in kind of allows a lot of people, including myself, to find out who you are. It's to find out where you fall in that line, and not only what you do well, but what you need to be better at. And like where you need to kind of look yourself in the mirror and be like, if I'm going to be able to do this, I need to be better at this, and I need to be better. I need to turn it up here. I have these skills, but it's like, I tell every new employee that we have, are you mentally prepared to be the worst employee that we have? Because a lot, if not every one of our employees, every single person in this room could, giving 60% effort, could skate by at anything they wanted to do, right? Everybody in this room, everybody on our staff could give 60% effort and probably be in the top 10% of whatever they wanted to do. They're very capable, very smart, offer a lot to anything that they could do. Not here though. Not here. If you're not giving that, you will quickly fall behind.
You stand out.
You stand out. You do.
Very quickly.
And it's like you have to be able to rise to that. And so I think that that's a really cool thing as somebody who, and you guys can attest to this especially, but one of the coolest parts of that is going from being the person living it and still living it to this day to then being the person who helps guide the next generation of people going through it.
Help them understand that.
You're kind of like, I've been down this trail. I've done this before. That's been a super cool thing for me, and a huge blessing in just the position that I've been in, is kind of being allowed to kind of walk Preston through it to an extent, and now really walk Will through it of like, hey, your expectation that is super hard to meet is now like it's about to double,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and it's about to get a lot harder and it's a lot more to it. And kind of being somebody who can kind of, and you do this a lot and you've done this in your time, that you've done this in the time that you worked at TRIAD, but it's like help mold and kind of get those next level of employees through those hardships, right? Because everybody's going to go through them.
Yeah.
Every employee we have, not a single one of them leaves their first year without a scar, right? Like everybody has an issue. It just happens. And so it's like, how do we get them on track? How do we keep them on track? How do we kind of, you know, guide them through this terrain?
Not let them think of that scar as a determining moment.
Yeah, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Man, one crazy thing to think about is like, and I think really like maybe for us more than anyone listening, but to think about Trace's time is you were around to watch Alfonso go through his interviews and Noah go through his interviews.
Yeah.
Noah being one of like, I would consider in the new group, the group that has been here less than a year, and Alfonso that was here for 2 or 3 years and has been gone for another 2 or 3 years. So his own thing, let's work. So it's
Yeah.
Well, so like every new employee I've interacted with, like it goes back to like just who we are hiring. And I think like one thing that
I love that you say we.
yeah.
I do. I genuinely love that.
it's a genuinely good thing.
love that.
I agree.
had one or I had a couple rounds of some interviews.
No. I genuinely love that you said we.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Well, great. Now I lost my thought. No, so like it just
Cool, I can talk again.
Have you taken your meds?
They're wearing off.
Do you ever feel like you're just so excited to talk?
Shut up, Trace. You talk.
But it's like something Anthony and I talked about is like, you know, we can always teach somebody like how to work in the store, like the supplements, the like interacting with people, like whatever, like we can teach that. But what I think has been such a huge testament to the success of TRIAD is how well we've been able to hire character. And so like, yes, like nobody leaves their first year without a scar, but because of who is getting hired, they're able to move on from that. They're able to use that as a learning experience, not an anchor. Right. And so
not a tombstone. For
absolutely. And so I think it's like, because of the effort like that you, Kevin, have put in the last
27 years.
Yeah. However
I'm
long.
only 26.
However long TRIAD's been a thing now. It's just you guys have been able to hire on these phenomenal human beings, not necessarily salesmen or supplement store employees, but just people. And so like that is I don't want to say the only thing, but that is the 99% of why I think why TRIAD is here. Because it keeps attracting these phenomenal people.
Yeah, TRIAD's just a name for the people that we have.
Elaborate.
Like TRIAD is just the umbrella thing that is a reference to, like, what I'm saying is our people, our employees are TRIAD.
Yes.
Right? Like
100%.
it is just the name that represents all the people that you see in the stores.
And the crazy,
It's not the supplements.
right?
It's the people.
And the crazy thing is that the name started, and then we have to build the people to create that reputation in the first place. And it is a daily effort. It changes a small amount daily.
Yeah, especially in new areas.
So
where you're going.
Obviously, like there are countless differences between what I do now and TRIAD, but I think the biggest difference is like when I leave this, like, so like I left the station at like 6:30 this morning. When I went home, I didn't think about firefighting at all. Like I just checked out, like did some chores, like hung out. When I was at TRIAD, it was, I leave the store. All right, what's the next thing I'm doing for Quail Springs? What's the next thing I'm doing for Norman? When's my sample event? When's the next big event? It's just, and then I go to bed, probably have a dream and a nightmare about the store.
Wake up in a panic.
And rush to the store, and I'm back at work. And it's just, I think that has been the biggest difference, honestly,
Sure.
out of like all the different aspects of these jobs. The biggest difference is there is no off switch, and that like that just it's a testament to who's working at the store is they're able to like I could have killed Anthony and Alfonso about the all gas, no brakes thing. And I was like, oh, you children and your SpongeBob memes. But like just it's a testament to them about like they're able to work themselves into the ground for 24 hours, go to bed for 4 hours and wake up and do it all over again. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Like this is it.
No, you're technically on shift for 36 hours a week, typically at a sample event for the total of 4 hours.
Yeah.
So 40 hours a week, but it's tough to explain to people that you work so much more than that, because it is everything you're doing is we're not just operating a business. We are trying to grow a company.
Yeah.
And it is something that the way I look at it is like my old football coach used to talk about, is like when we'd have extra long practices or extra difficult drills is, hey, the team we're playing first this season is probably working harder than us right now. Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes in any kind of market where there is competition is, hey, someone could be like, it's, 9:30 at night and, I'm at a stopping point throughout the day, but is our competition, are they going to keep working? Are they working right now? Are they going to keep working? Are they working harder than me right now?
Nope.
It is always possible for someone to be working harder than you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I say it in every new interview that we have, like, be prepared. The polo never comes off.
Right. It's
in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to, how many people you meet and how many people, when you first even start and you get posted on social media and you get a couple hundred likes and 1,000 people that see it, how many people know you before you've even met them? Like how much of a representation you are of the store. So when you are out in public, you talk about this a lot, Thomas, of how much you just have to hold yourself accountable for being a representation of the company.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have TRIAD stickers on my car.
You can rerun people all you
Yeah,
want.
if I'm speeding or driving like a butthole, you don't know it's me.
Yeah, I get it. I love it.
Hey, but there was something that you said earlier, and I think like just to kind of give a testament to, I think the thought process, because there are times that it's definitely difficult. But you said, nobody gets through. We're talking about nobody getting through without a scar, and how that's not an anchor.
Yeah.
One of the things that in the manager group or between us or whatever, like how many times has it been said whenever something's been gone is don't write anybody's death sentence.
Right.
Yeah. Don't write any, because the second you do that, what's the point?
We might as well let them go.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And we had I was explaining this to kind of Will the other day, and there wasn't anything going on. We were just kind of going over some management training stuff. And it was like, one of the toughest things about being a manager is being like slow to judge and quick to forgive.
Yeah.
Like you have to, you have to be really slow to like getting frustrated with somebody falling maybe potentially a little bit short, and ultra fast at forgiving them.
Yeah.
Like you've got to, the moment you write somebody off, like what's the point? You know what I mean? We're going to do everything that we can, and it is your responsibility as the manager, as the person in that leadership position, to be the one willing to, even when you've done nothing wrong and somebody else has been just a source of frustration, to be the person to extend the olive branch, to be the person to right the wrongs, to be the person to guide and help. One of the things that happen, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's like when you're trying to get the best out of somebody who's frustrated you, and the moment that the only way that you can get that done is by praising them.
Tough.
Yeah.
Bang my head on the wall. But at the end of the day, you have to keep in mind, what is your end goal? And if your end goal is anything besides getting the best out of your employees, no matter what that means from your standpoint, then like you've got the wrong mindset.
That is probably one of the most important things I've learned is the difference between emotional response and what I naturally want to do, and what action gets the result that I desire.
Right.
What do you need versus what does TRIAD need?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I
Right.
used to talk about it when I worked at the hospital, like, and I had an employee who was a supervisor who like just was literally trying to tear down anything that I could do. Like he was literally trying to sabotage. And then I realized one day that like when I was yelling at him, it wasn't for him to be better. I was yelling at him to feel good.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, I had to like check my own ego and think to myself, like, okay, well, like if we're taking him not working here off of the table, let's just say, you know, and I've talked to this to, you know, Preston or Will or anybody that have kind of helped as we get through the management transition is like, take getting rid of them off the table.
Yeah.
Your goal is to get them to be the best that they can be. How do you do it? And how do you do it in a way that like, even if it's not the way you want to do it, even if it's the way that's like, you're going to be like, oh, but like Kevin brought up in previous podcasts, when you start positively talking to somebody and you start projecting, I don't know if projecting is the right word, but if you start like showing them positive energy and positive light, your own thoughts of them start to change.
Yeah.
Because when you have that constant, like this person sucks, this person sucks,
that's all you see.
That's all you see. And you start looking for the problems and you stop looking for the good things. When I'm finding a reason to praise you every day, as opposed to a reason to bring you down every day, what am I looking at now? I'm now looking at the things that you are bringing to the table and not the things that are frustrating me.
Yeah.
Big energy bus vibes.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's a great book. One of my favorites. But I think that you know, that is like, that's almost like the first real test. Like maybe not the first, but it's like it's definitely a real test of that like management of it's like the day you have to praise somebody who you have to praise somebody you don't want to praise in order to get the reaction and the reality that you want out of them.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. It's a tough pill to swallow sometimes.
Yeah.
Homies,
Where are we at on time?
we're over 2 hours. You told me a while ago.
Oh,
Yeah. It goes by quick, doesn't it, Trace?
Yeah.
You realize like once you start getting going, then you're like, oh dang, it's, you know, it's been it's people are always like, man, I could go for another 2 hours. And it's like, yeah, and you kind of get the ball rolling. It's tough.
Yeah.
well, Trace.
Weird. A little drinking, a little talking.
A little drink, a little talking, baby.
Goes quick.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, daddy.
A couple hours ain't that much.
No.
When it's just that's all we're doing.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's it.
So you can tell Sadie we stuck to the script, the
Yeah.
agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hit everything perfectly.
She didn't come up once, so it was great. Yeah.
No?
You should text her now and tell her that we messed up halfway through and we got to restart.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
I was
Well,
going to, I'll tell her Thomas messed up his lines.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
One take Tommy. She ain't coming back.
Well, cool. Well, Trace, I
Dude,
love you, buddy.
No, guys, I really want to say thank you for having me here. Like it's been a blast. It's always a great time. Just I don't know, having a beer.
Yeah.
It's fun to
Shooting
reminisce,
the shit a
man.
little bit,
Tell some
yeah.
old stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Revisit some things I haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was fun, dude.
Yeah.
Good job.
Dude,
Good to see you. We miss you.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We miss you. Miss you a lot.
Next whiskey and cigar night.
Yeah. There we go.
Let's do it.
When next time I get a couple hours off, I might. We'll
Fair
see if we
enough.
can schedule one. Yeah.
Talk to your manager.
We haven't had one in a while. I'll let you know though. I'll let you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time. And if you want to be on the podcast, just send Ryan an Instagram message. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
That's getting cut.